Okay, so we're gonna continue down the car thing. Is that what you were about to tell me?
This is all you, man. Yeah, this is you. You found this. I thought this was pretty funny.
So, we did a podcast we covered it on a podcast earlier in the year. Like, I think it was like spring or summer of this year, right? The DeLorean, didn't we? Was that this year?
Yeah.
And this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I almost. I mean, like, I had the checkbook out. I had 3 or 4 dinner table conversations with my wife that had, I had moved it through the approval process, if you will. And Jay, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
and folks at home, you probably know what I'm talking about as well. And it was right before we were going to take our Disney trip in February, and then the pandemic hit, and I never pulled the trigger. And there was something about it. I was just like, I can't, and I just didn't feel right about it. I had a DeLorean lined up. It had less than 30,000 miles on it, original factory miles. I was going to buy it. I knew the owner. It was a single owner, I think. But if not, the guy that was the current owner had it for probably almost 20 years. Anyway, I love DeLoreans. And the reason I probably am drawn to them so much is Back to the Future, of course. But the more you know about John DeLorean and his story and how unique that car was in the day, just the more fascinating. The engines in them were not great, but there's just a fascinating concept of what they were trying to do, right?
Who would you say is more quirky, John DeLorean or Elon Musk? Who is more like...
See, that's a great point, because they really are. John DeLorean was the Elon Musk of the 80s.
Right.
And this was, y'all have to remember, this was before internet, right? This was before we had like social media and YouTube. And so he did such an amazing job of getting recognized for his product. Here's a question, Jay. If John DeLorean would have done his DeLorean now instead of in the early 80s,
right?
Do you think it would be the huge hit that Tesla is?
I think so. Because
I do too.
I really do, because I think that those they may even compete head to head.
Now, take out Back to the Future. Remove that.
Ooh.
Is he still a big deal?
That's interesting. I think so.
Because you have to remember, by the time Back to the Future came out, the DeLoreans that we know were pretty much done.
Yeah. I mean, you might see one here or there.
He had already kind of started down that path of trouble, right? And
you know what? But at the end of the day, though, if you think about it, if there were no DeLorean, there probably would be no Tesla.
Ooh. That's...
Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think if you look at the similarities between these two guys and some of the cutting edge technology that what the DeLorean was for then. I mean, we're talking late 70s, 80s, man, when this thing was popular back in its heyday. And then of course, he got in a lot of trouble. And then now you got Elon Musk that kind of carried the torch in his own way. It's interesting, man. They have some parallel stuff going on there.
So we talked about in a previous podcast this year, DeLorean's 40th anniversary and the potential of... They were attempting to re-release or release a new updated version of the DMC-12. And there was some legislation issues that they were having. I think it had to do with, if I'm not mistaken, the EPA. It might have been the FTSHSB, the Federal Transportation Safety Highway Transportation, whatever acronym. Federal, the National Highway thank you. Anyway, you know what I mean.
NHTSCB.
Thank you. But they were stumbling a little bit, and it was uncertain. And then, of course, COVID hit, and the pandemic and the shutdown. And so I'm not sure that ever came to fruition. But there's a designer out there, and this came to us via Maxim. Jay, you remember Maxim, right?
Yeah, I do.
That magazine we all subscribe to.
Maxim magazine, yes.
I miss Maxim so much. I didn't know they were still around, but
dude, you gotta have some Barry. You gotta have some Barry White, music going in there, because I mean, if you were
for Maxim, but that's kind of like,
yeah. But if you were reading Maxim, dude, you were like the man. That's right, baby. Those are my Maxim mags over on the counter. That's right.
I gotta say, okay, now you've pulled me down a rabbit hole. Okay, so for a long time, they used to do this thing on the spine. Do you remember this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do, yeah. Refresh my memory.
I collected them. I saved them for 3 or 4 years, and I had them when I met my wife, my now wife.
Yeah, you stack them.
I wasn't married at the time.
Yeah.
If you put them in a bookshelf and you lined them up by issue date, there was a supermodel photo that was on on the spines that created so you'd literally get like this much each month, right? And then you just have to complete the picture.
Now you want to talk about great marketing? Because you were buying them just to complete the picture of the supermodel.
Yeah. Right.
That's right. Yeah, we're just all reading that stuff for the articles, my friend.
So anyway, before I get too far into that,
buying that
there's an article on Maxim, and there is a designer that has taken a shot at what he thinks the DMC-12 should look like if they do release a 40th anniversary in 2021.
Got my vote.
And
got my vote, man.
Yes. Spanish designer Angel Guerrera decided to create a totally contemporary version in his spare time. This thing, DeLorean, if you're listening, this is it. This is the one you need to make.
Now is your time.
It is the perfect combination of art, keeping the spirit of the DeLorean. It's got the gold wing doors. It's such a classy look. The side profile to me, even a little bit looks like an Aston Martin, a little bit.
Right.
But it's so good looking. This is, Jay, there have been many eras where cars were art.
Right.
In our past.
Absolutely.
And we get into things like in the 80s where it's like, what is this? These are all. And to some extent, we've had periods of that recently. This is a car. This is a timeless car design. It is.
It is.
Beautiful.
I think they have to do that. I when I first saw it, man, I'm like, wow. Here's what I like in this too. Okay, Ford Mustang. They gotta come out with something. That, the Mustang's not doing that well. Complete new redesign. There's some favoritism towards like nostalgia with it. Can we like bring in some of the body lines and the wideness and just that beefiness of what the Mach used to look like, or the original like ponies that were out there, and they hit it out of the park. They hired a design team to come in and bring all those elements in to that body and styling, and Ford hit it out of the park with the new generation Ford Mustang that we have out on the market today. Now, since that design, which I think was in the early, like maybe 2008, 9, 10-ish, somewhere around there. They have kind of refined that a little bit, and it's more of it's kind of a Euro design, but they're still keeping some of those elements. It's a sleeker look.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more like car, right? Like it's just is like this blender that it
reminds me of the Jag.
It's like you reach in. Okay, so we did Disney before the pandemic hit in February, and we did the Droid Depot, and my son and I, Sideshot and I, built a droid, and it was an awesome experience. We put a video out on it, which is a little bit unrelated for guys at the Parts Counter show, but it was fun. And you've got this conveyor belt, and you've got parts coming down the conveyor belt, right? And you can do R2 style or BB-8 style, BB style, but you're gonna get like either like a bucket head or a round head or a sphere or dome or whatever. And there's really a limit to how many of those. My point that I'm trying to make here is these modern car designers, it tends to be like, well, let's just reach off that conveyor belt, grab like a front end, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is not that. And Jay, one of the things that I immediately went to when I was looking at this, and I'd be interested to hear if you thought this also,
right,
is, if you're going to do a DeLorean, you must do the gull wing doors. You must. I mean, even Elon Musk loved that so much that he put it in his Model X, right?
Right.
So does the car look... of course the car is going to look interesting with those open, right? And they're all going to show you pictures with those doors open.
Right.
What's the car look like with those doors closed? And
right.
this rendering looks like a fantastic, beautiful car, piece of art with the doors. It is every bit as impressive with the doors closed as it is with the doors open. Would you agree?
I would, kind of like the Tesla.
Yeah.
Just one of those rides. But this one, man, it looks really, really sexy, man. I mean, it's sexy and just it's macho at the same time, man. It's got that masculine, sexy, just this. If they do this, if they pull this off, I would be happy for them. And it's a long time coming.
I wouldn't just be happy. I think I would possibly try to get in line for one. I need it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can
I'd take that Bronco money and throw it.
No, you could take it and park it right next to that Bronco that you'll never get. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because if they don't come up with a tranny for that thing anyway. So yeah, that's a great story, man. I'm happy. Yeah, we did. You're right. We did talk about that, and we thought it was really cool. Perfect timing. For the year coming up is it's 40 years.
Right. Yeah. 2021. It'll be 40 years.
40 years. So good stuff, man. Yeah. So.